and welcome to On the Edge. Well, the battle to be Wales's prettiest girl is just finishing up in Swansea. Last year's Miss Wales now has to pass on her crown after a year of charity work and, well, smiling a lot, really. So, should these girls hang up their bikinis? It is the 21st century after all. Or is there still a place for beauty pageants like this 30 years after these girls' mums burned their bras?
There they all go in a row, exposing their fleshy perfections, their withers and their flanks, their hams and their shanks, open to public inspection.
It's been called demeaning, tacky and an insult to women, so how come this relic of post-war Britain is still going so strong? Despite being virtually banned from the airwaves in this country, Miss World is second only to the World Cup with viewers worldwide. In their heyday in the 60s, beauty contests were a huge hit with audiences at Wales seaside resorts too.
But the judges are discriminating men. This is no job for no nitwit. They must carefully watch every cleavage and crotch for the girl who's the world's biggest tidbit.
For the judges, it was a case of nice work if you can get it, although they sometimes got just a little bit carried away. Of course, ideals of feminine beauty have changed somewhat over the years. But even in the early days, it wasn't all just about looking pretty. Miss Kilgerran here demonstrating her proficiency with a coracle. For the girls, it was a glamorous life, mixing with the rich and famous.
Film stars, very aristocratic people, well-off people, millionaires.
But fame and fortune don't always follow. In 1974, Helen Morgan from Barry won Miss World, only to lose her title when it was revealed she was an unmarried mum. And in 1999, Swansea's Claire Daniels spent her year as Miss Wales working in a chip shop to make ends meet. But the girls keep smiling through.
Breast and thighs that hypnotize me, galvanize me, so agonizingly puts a size that, not surprisingly, she can hardly move at all. Oh, she hardly moves at all.
Well, in true Miss World tradition, we're going to introduce our guests in reverse order. Come down here, this is room 2, and here we have Erin. Hello, Erin.
Hello, Mike.
Now, Erin is a life coach, and she thinks that these beauty pageants are pretty demeaning and pretty sexist. We're going to be speaking to Erin in just a moment, but first of all, let's have a look at our main discussion room. In here we have Susan, who used to be a Miss Wales contestant. She was also a judge last year, but she's changed her mind. She doesn't like these pageants anymore. We'll find out why a little bit later. In the room with her, we have Sarah, who was Welsh Woman of the Year, and she thinks that these beauty pageants are great. Well, these beauty competitions are still causing a bit of a stir, even though it's 15 years, would you believe, since we could last watch Miss World on the television in the UK. You can see it in the other countries, but not here. In here, in room 1, we have Imogin, who's the current Miss Wales, handing over her title today. Hello, Imogin.
Hiya.
Now, let's have a quick look before we talk to Imogin and what it was like to actually win Miss Wales. Well, you're looking completely stunning now. What was it like to win? Were you shocked?
I was very shocked. It's exciting, you know, because just having a crown on my head is just a lovely experience. It's really good.
You look a bit kind of, oh my God, I can't believe it's me.
No, I was really, really stunned by winning, and I was just like, oh my God, I won, you know, and that's why, as you can see, the excitement on my face, and I was so amazed. It was unbelievable.
You're still smiling now. It's obviously been a good year.
Yeah, you've had a brilliant year. It's been a fantastic opportunity for me.
Did you get the chance to do things that maybe you wouldn't have done if you hadn't won Miss Wales?
Yeah, obviously. You know, I've done lots of photo shoots as being Miss Wales, so I wouldn't have been able to do that, you know, obviously, for obvious reasons. But yeah, I've had lots of, like, TV work. I did my first TV commercial last week, so I've had a really, really good time.
And you were the Forces sweetheart, weren't you? Sorry? You were your Forces sweetheart?
Yeah.
You and Nell McAndrew?
Yeah, I done the motor booth for the Iraq boys, for the Welsh troops in Iraq.
And I read somewhere you were the most strokeable legs. We can't check that because you're wearing jeans.
Oh yeah. I done
Have a
that
look.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah, they look pretty strokeable.
Yeah, that was for impulse spray. So
You've had all these opportunities. When you kind of started entering beauty contests, because I know that you've done a few before the Miss Wales thing, and you didn't win those.
no.
But you kept. What made you keep going and try the Miss Wales thing?
It was my mother who entered me for Miss Wales, and it was something I would, I've wanted to do because Miss Wales is like quite big, I think. And I thought, well, I'll try Miss Wales, and if I don't win, there'll be no more. But I won, and it was lovely to have won.
It takes a lot of confidence to do something like this and stand there. And, women get judged on their appearance all the time. We all do, don't we? But when you're standing on that stage in your gown or whatever you're wearing, and everybody's looking at every inch of your face and what you look like and your legs and everything, it takes a lot of confidence, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. But when you're up there doing it, your confidence grows, So, yeah, I think on the night my confidence grew much more, and I started to become more relaxed towards the end. So,
What's it like when you lose?
when you lose, you feel a bit disheartened, but at the end of the day, it's taking part that counts. So,
Does it affect your confidence? Do you start looking in the mirror going, I need to be this, I need to be that, I need to be thinner, I need to be taller?
so in some ways, yes, but I think it actually builds your confidence more, because then you think, well, you can then move on to bigger and better things, and that's really, really good of you then, just to think that in your head. So if you are strong-minded, you will think that. So.
And what's next for you now? I know you've got an audition for a pop video?
Yeah, tomorrow, yeah. I just want to get into TV, maybe do a few more commercials, and just see where it ends from there.
Oh, best of luck to you. We'll
Thank
be
you
speaking
very
to you
much.
again in a minute, but don't go away.
Okay.
So we'll be leaving Imogin for the moment. Imogin, of course, is Miss Wales up until about midnight, I think, and then she has to pass over her crown to the next one who wins. Imogin clearly thinks beauty pageants are great, but not everybody thinks that. So let's now go down to room 2. Because in here we've got Erin. Hello again.
Hello.
Now, I've just spoken to Imogin, and, she obviously thinks beauty pageants are a great idea. Well, she won Miss Wales, but you think they're a really bad idea. Why is that?
I'm really not keen on the whole thing. In fact, I think my point of view is that they're almost funny, because they belong to a bygone era. I don't see women that way, and I'm amazed that in 2004 that these kind of competitions still continue.
It's interesting because we don't see it in this country anymore. It's been taken off the air, Miss World and things like that. But
Sure.
they see it in about 160 other countries.
Yeah.
And it's a huge audience, almost the same size as the World Cup audience.
Yeah.
So do you think maybe, the world has changed? Yes, in the 70s there was lots of feminism and stuff, but now there's girl power. It's almost like if these girls can get ahead with what God gave them, why not?
I don't see it as girl power. In fact, I see it as quite the reverse. I think what it's doing is actually taking away the power of women. There's so much more to say about women than how pretty they look. It's not empowering of those people at all. And it gives poor messages to young girls coming up behind about what women can be in our society today.
Today, though, lots of girls, if you ask them what do you want to be when they grow up, they say, I want to be famous.
Fine.
Which it's
Good
not
ambition.
just,
But
some people want to be Victoria Beckham, or they want to be Miss World, or they want to be J-Lo. Imogin is saying, she's had the chance to do all kinds of things this year she would never have had the chance to do. Girls are going to think, that could be me.
There are lots and lots of ways to be famous, though, aren't there? You could be famous for being a single woman yachting around the world. You can be famous for so many things, and this one to me is really trivial. I agree that Imogin says that she's had a good time, but as a coach, my job is to encourage people to really reach for the stars, not to settle for something that I regard as quite demeaning.
Would you like to see the competition change? They say it's about personality as well now. Do you think that's enough, or do you think we should be having different kinds of competitions for women?
That seems to me to be a sop to public opinion, that it's about personality, because we all know perfectly well what it's about. It's mainly about women as objects, women as sex objects, women as being there for men to look at. It's about a product that men buy into. I, as a woman, can admire beautiful women, But I don't really think that's what the competition is about.
Do you think if we had a Mr. Wales competition or a Mr. World competition that it would even it all out? Because men are just as interested in what they look at like these days as women are.
Absolutely. Men, and particularly boys, because we're talking about young girls here, boys can be absolutely stunning and beautiful. I mean, people like Germaine Gray, who's a feminist, has actually written a book called Boy, with lots of pictures of stunning young men. I don't think that would really even up the balance, and I don't think there'd be a market for it, because at the end of the day it's men who determine these competitions.
So what would you like to see happen with competitions like this? Should it carry on as a bit of fun, you say, because it's a bit of an anachronism, or do you want to see them banned?
I think I'd like them to be banned, because I think on balance they do more damage. I'd like to just laugh at them, but I think they're too damaging to laugh at, so I'd like to get rid of them.
Okay, thank you, Erin. For the moment, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll be finding out what one ex-contestant of Miss Wales thinks and what the Welsh Woman of the Year thinks. See you in a few minutes. Thank you. Hello and welcome back to On the Edge. If you've just joined us, as the new Miss Wales is going to be crowned this evening, we're talking about beauty pageants. You know, are they past it, or do we still have a place for them? We've got a few guests sitting in room 3. Susan, welcome to On the Edge. You were a contestant, I hate to say this, 25 years ago. I can't believe that.
Yes, it's back in the age of steam in 1979.
Well, you look very glamorous in the picture in your swimsuit with your curly 70s hair, I have to say.
Yes.
Farrah Fawcett Majors.
Well, yes, she was my heroine at the time. I think everybody used to spray their hair with lots of hairspray and heated curlers just to get that bouffant look.
Yeah, and you were a judge last year, weren't you?
Yes, I was. Last year I got roped in to judging Miss Wales because I was also Lady Mayoress in Swansea last year, and I think it was just the double ticket was just too much for the organisers, so they asked me to come on.
You're a good choice. Now, even though you've been a contestant and you've been a judge, you're not terribly keen on beauty pageants now, are you? Why is that?
I don't think it's right to say that I'm not keen on them, but what I think they needs to happen is they should be brought into the 21st century. I can say this now from the sort of like the platform of middle age, but what we're really looking at is something that involves young people, because I think unless the rules have changed, you have to be under 23.
Yeah.
So I think there's scope here, if you can sort of get rid of the beauty label and take the focus off that. There's a scope here perhaps for finding a role model, a young woman who is attractive, groomed, and all those things, but at the same time perhaps is doing particularly well in education or her profession in a community where...
Do you think that's realistic, though? Would they be showing this in 160 countries if it wasn't just about pretty girls parading up and down?
Well, let's put it this way. People enjoy celebrities. I mean, you know, you can take the political correctness out of it. If you want, in fact, if you wanted to go down the political correctness road completely, there'd be no such thing as makeup or fashion, and nobody would buy celebrity magazines. You know, the reality is people do like things that are attractive to look at and what have you.
I mean, Sarah, you think that. You were Welsh Woman of the Year.
Yeah.
I was quite surprised to find that you think beauty pageants are a good idea. I thought you would have thought the other way.
Right. I mean, I certainly agree with what Susan's just said, that I think that we live in a society where we buy into the beauty market, whether it's through the millions of magazines that are sold, the makeup, cosmetics, idols. I mean, Victoria Beckham covers our pages, and it's all about what she's wearing, what she looks like. And I think in an age certainly where we've got such high levels of obesity, for example, that there is nothing bad in promoting positive images. And I don't think there's anything wrong with celebrating beauty. And ultimately, I think the reason I support it is that, I mean, my award was given with a lot of women there that night that had all succeeded in different areas. And I don't see why, if women choose to enter beauty competitions, that they shouldn't be allowed to.
Erin, because you said you want the ban, don't you, basically?
I absolutely do. You say there's nothing wrong with admiring beauty, there's nothing wrong with all of that, and I absolutely agree with you. But I have real problems with 23. I mean, what happens after 23? You know, we're suddenly not beautiful anymore, we're decrepit, and then boys, you know, boys are beautiful too.
Yeah.
And we're excluding more than half of the human race if we say we're going to look at girls exclusively.
Is it just an age thing, though? I mean, you know, if the rest of us who are over 23, let's face it, were allowed to enter, would that be okay?
It's just a question of the focus for me is completely wrong. Of course beauty is something to be celebrated, and of course we all want to be the best we can be. As a coach, that's absolutely what I'm about.
Yeah.
But I'm also about raising aspirations so that people look at what's available to them and go for it. And it just seems to me a sad limitation on a young woman to say, this is what I'm about. I'm a package, I'm pretty, everybody look at me.
It's interesting because what you're talking about is looking at women as a whole person, which is kind of what you won, isn't it, as Welsh Woman of the Year?
Yes.
But Erin, do you think there's a place for both kinds of competitions? We've got two winners sitting on this sofa here. We've got Imogin, who's, you know, very pretty and very young and was judged because she's very pretty. And then, you know, we've got Sarah, who was judged for amazing achievements. Is that okay, do you think, because we've got both?
It's not okay for me because I just find the one is demeaning, the one is limiting, the one is non-empowering of women, the one is a really bad role model for young women coming up, whereas the other says, look how powerful women can be, look how talented, look how enormous the scope of being a woman.
Do you feel demeaned, Imogin?
No, not at all. I think you would look at it different if you had won something like this, you know? I think that's,
Well, can I tell you, when I was 7, and I was on holiday with my parents in Pwllheli, in Butlins, that there were competitions for children to look beautiful. And I can remember to this day standing there, and it's a very long time ago, with a number in front of me and a shy smile on my face. I've still got the photograph. And coming second in that competition. Now, that's my next problem with it. Well done, Imogin, because you walk off with the first prize. What about the one who came second or third or is nowhere? What does that do to them?
That is life, though, isn't it? Yeah.
But I mean, but judged on their looks.
And also, I have to say that you've got to be fairly confident to enter them in the first place. If you're going to be that sensitive, blushing flower, you're not going to go near them. One thing I will say is that when I did it, I mean, it was a different era then. There were these beauty contests all over the place, and used to win, if you came second or third, you'd pick up 20 or 30 quid. At that time, that's great. That was equivalent to half a week's pay, you know. It would pay for all my clothes, and it was just a bit of fun. What I would say, though, is that it taught me at a very early age how to walk, how to talk in public, to be interviewed on stage, how to project myself, and those are lessons that I've taken with me.
Yeah.
What about girls watching it, though? I mean, Imogin, have you got friends who look at you, maybe they're not as pretty as you are? What effect do you think it has on them if they see these competitions and they see incredibly pretty girls like you that they'll never be as pretty as? How do you think they feel watching something like this?
I don't really, I can't answer that really, you know, because I hope girls don't look at me like that, you know, and, you know.
I think there is a lot of competition in society. We look at women in magazines and you can judge whether somebody... Yeah, we all do.
I've looked at, to say, J-Lo, Britney Spears, oh, I'd love to be like her, you know? It's life, it is life, and, you know, unless you're going to go out there and try for things, you know.
I like to think that, I mean, all of us here that are sat here as women, we all represent different success stories in different things that we do. And ultimately, I think that whatever women do should be celebrated. There are women that have very controversial careers and women that succeed in fields today that maybe never did. When back in 25 years ago when you took part, it was much more difficult for women to pursue certain careers. I think if we're going to be truly emancipated, we have to say that women have the choice to do what they want to do.
Can I ask you one may sound like a daft question? You said, you know, it's a long time since you entered and there's an age limit now, it's 23. If they had a Miss World for women who were over 23, would you enter again?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I said about updating it all. I mean, I think they should scrap the swimsuits completely, and I keep on putting the emphasis back on other things in somebody's life. I mean, if you're going to have somebody representing a country, Wales, England, whatever, then I think that person has to be a real ambassador for that country. So they should have, I mean, they should have a very good knowledge of current affairs. They don't put their foot in it. They should be accomplished.
So they don't just stand and say, I want to work with children and I want world peace.
You know, that should go out with the ark, quite frankly. And that is...
We all remember that, don't we?
I do, you know.
And that, I
do
think,
agree with you with that.
because I agreed to judge Miss Wales last year because there was no swimsuits. It was all tracksuits and gym clothes.
Would you said no if there was a bikini around like there
I
used to
think
be?
I probably would have, yeah, because that's something that belongs in the era of the black and white minstrel show that really should be gone now.
Yeah.
Because that does throw too much of an emphasis on the beauty side of it. And then we all know people who are absolutely gorgeous and they open their mouths and they're vacant. And then we also know people who are pig ugly and they are so attractive because of their personality. So I just...
Why do bikinis make a difference? They're up there to parade what they possess in terms of their bodily shape and their face and all
not
of
really,
that.
because beauty contestants generally are not models, so they're not stick thin to begin with. So if they're actually doing something that's promoting a healthy shape, and then if they're coming on showing off their dress sense, like as a woman, I find that quite interesting to see somebody come on in an evening gown, to see somebody come on in a day outfit, just as I read fashion in the magazines. I enjoy that.
They're still decorative objects, aren't they? We don't do that to men. We don't get them up there in their best suits or their underpants or whatever.
Isn't there a Mr. Wales?
Well, yeah,
it is
Mr.
Mr. Wales, yeah.
But it's more muscle.
It's muscle orientated. Can I just ask you, because we're coming towards the end of the show, there's going to be a new Miss Wales now. If you could give us some advice, Imogin, on what to expect and what to do with this year, what would it be?
Just enjoy the whole experience and just basically give it all you can, you know. That's all I'm going to say. Just be confident as well, because your confidence needs to shine through.
And Erin, what would you advise all those losers, because there's going to be 23 of them?
Yeah, it's tough. And what I'd like to do with Imogin is sit down with her and get her to tell me what her other ambitions are, what else she might do with her wonderful life that's all still very much ahead of her.
I've got so many ambitions.
Good. I'm sure they extend.
Wales was one of them. So.
Well, they extend well beyond on being a pretty little thing that men can admire. I'm sure of that. And that's what I'd want to say to the rest of them. Come and talk to me. Let's see where you can go.
Okay, girls, thank you very much indeed. It was a really interesting discussion. That's it for On the Edge this week. Best of luck for the next year for the new Miss Wales. We'll be back next week. See you then. Bye-bye.
Next Thursday at 7:30, Grassroots meets some of the characters who are bringing local history to life. And there's the Welsh farming dynasty, whose dairy cows are bringing home the trophies. And the Valley's youngsters, who are restocking our rivers. That's Grassroots next Thursday at 7:30.